I've been into homes where they've got cockroach infestation, mice, damp, mould, ceilings collapsing. I've taken people to A&E because of that. I've been stood in 2 inches deep in someone's home filled with raw sewage. And in a lot of these cases, these tenants have been complaining. Sometimes it's even for 10 years in some cases. I spoke to one lady I remember on my estate, because I also am from a social housing background, and she had been complaining for 27 years living with disrepair, and it hadn't been dealt with.
You call this condensation? What the hell is that? Look.
For this film, we spoke to housing campaigner Kwajo Tweneboa, who has spent the last 3 years exposing people's terrible housing conditions through social media. He told us the scale of the problem and what he wanted from a possible incoming Labour government.
It's an issue that has been growing for absolute decades. It's not something that's just cropped up because I've gone into people's home with a camera. It's been manifesting for decades, and we simply do not have enough homes and investment in social homes, in particular council homes. I've also spoken to people with illnesses, terminal cancer for example, living in homes filled with damp and mould and got stage 4 lung cancer. Those are the sorts of circumstances that I'm seeing people live in, and I think it's an absolute shame. I mean, it's an absolute national disgrace that this is happening with our housing across the country, not just in social housing but in private rented accommodation. We've got 1.4 million people on the council waiting list as it is. We've got 131,000 homeless kids across England. So the issue of housing and not having enough housing or poor quality housing has knock-on effects to other areas of society, like education, like healthcare. So to see that it's finally front and centre, and something that I've been trying to push for and felt like I've been screaming at like a brick wall for the last 3 years, for it to finally be being heard, has been great. But again, like everything, we need to see what happens, because for a long time people have said X, Y and Z, that they're going to do X, Y and Z, but often is the case that doesn't manifest. The right to buy scheme has to go in order to save social housing, because what you're going to do if it doesn't go is you're going to be hemorrhaging the small amount of social housing stock that we have. On top of that, you're not only going to have to replace those homes, you're also going to have to build 1.4 million homes for people that are currently waiting on the waiting list, and on top of that, build enough homes for future demand too. It's a huge ask. Some would say that's absolutely impossible. What we need is real change, and the Labour government is claiming to be that party of change. That is what Keir Starmer is saying, and what we need to see changing in housing, we need them to take bold decisions. And in regards to social housing, if they really want to fix it, they have to at least suspend the right to buy scheme, but I would prefer they completely get rid of it. Housing is a necessity, and if we flip it on its head and speak about the privatisation of the NHS and hospital beds, there's absolute outrage. It should be the absolute same with public housing. We've seen over the last 3 decades what the right to buy scheme has done to social housing and what it's doing to families up and down the country. Families stuck in hotel rooms for years. It's no longer a housing crisis, it's an absolute housing emergency here in the UK.